you're trying to wade through the sea of information out there on non-toxic baby products and you're confused and overwhelmed by all that the internet has to say is toxic or non-toxic or whatever, this video is for you. Hi, my name is Selena from Wholeness Campaign. I make videos about gut health, detoxification, and non-toxic living tips for those of you who are trying to heal from chronic illness naturally. So if that sounds like you, please consider subscribing to this channel so that you don't miss a video. I make new videos like this every single week. Today, I'm going to share my top 5 non-toxic baby products, the ones that I feel have the most potential to be toxic, and also the ones that I feel like are the most straightforward when it comes to finding non-toxic alternatives, or in my case, so I thought. As I was doing my research on this, I found that there was more toxic issues with baby products than I was even aware of going into the research. And so I just want to come at this video from a very humble place because I too learned something in the process of doing this research for this video. And truly, the information out there is so overwhelming, so controversial, and there is constantly new information coming out. And so this is just the best that I have to offer at this moment. I wouldn't be surprised if some of these products you found out later were toxic, because that's just kind of how this process works. But in all of this, my hope is to just give you the clearest path forward and the most information that's out there so that you can make the most informed decisions for your health and for your baby's health. So let's jump in. Number 1 on this list is going to be diapers, and that is purely because it's going to be in contact with your baby's skin so frequently. I think this is one of the most important products that you want to make sure is non-toxic for your baby. It's very common to experience rashes, diaper rashes and skin irritations from diapers. And in doing this research, I found that Huggies and Kirkland brand diapers have both been under a little bit of scrutiny because of their known use of PFAs, which PFAs are known as forever chemicals, meaning they just literally do not disappear. Once they're in the environment, they don't leave. And so you really don't want those on your baby's skin anywhere near the human body. But those are really trusted brands, generally speaking. So let's kind of unpack some of the reasons why diapers can be toxic. Diapers have been known to have all sorts of different kinds of chemicals in them. It's really actually quite disturbing if you look into the research. Formaldehyde, dyes, fragrances, dioxins, which are like the bleaching agents to make them the color that they are, polychlorinated biphenyls, which were actually banned in 1979 for causing harm to the environment and human bodies, furans, which are known skin irritants, polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons. Hopefully I said that right. But that type of chemical literally has been known to cause birth defects, reproductive issues, and issues with babies actually being slow to gain weight, which is obviously a problem because in and of themselves, baby's birth weight can be a really contentious issue between you and a pediatrician. And it's ironic that the diapers you're using could actually have chemicals that contribute to some of that. So what diapers are non-toxic? Honestly, you guys, I don't really trust any disposable diaper brand 100% because in order for a diaper to be disposable, in order for it to be as moisture containing as it is, it does need to have some kind of absorbing agent in there. And the fillers of these diapers are going to have some kind of chemical. It's not really possible to make a disposable diaper outside of having some kind of chemical, which is why I would say that cloth diapers are probably the purest and the easiest way to just avoid all of the drama and make sure that it's 100% non-toxic. Now, that being said, we actually don't use cloth diapers right now. We have in the past, and when we did, we chose Grovia, which I love that brand. They use 100% organic cotton liners, and they're pretty absorbent. They actually work pretty well. However, we were having some issues with the overnight, and then we ended up just switching to mostly disposable. And so these are going to be my top brands for disposable diapers that I absolutely trust. They are also brands that put a huge emphasis on the type of material that is in between your baby and that absorbing chemical layer that makes sure that the diaper is actually effective. These brands have gone through rigorous testing of the materials that are actually in contact with the baby's skin to make sure that it is as non-toxic as possible. And we have had no issues with using these brands. The first one and the one that we use the most is Coterie. Coterie is a very clean, toxin-free brand of diapers. So it would be Coterie. Every Life is another brand that also has very similar manufacturing to Coterie, and Healthy Baby. So Coterie, Every Life, and Healthy Baby are my top 3. If I'm going to pick a diaper that's disposable, that's the type I'm going to get. They are very conscious to include as minimal chemicals as possible, and the materials that are touching your baby's skin are going to be pretty clean. No fragrances, no dyes, none of that. I will leave links in the description box for all of those 3 brands, as well as Grovia if you're interested in trying out a cloth diaper option. Number 2 is going to be wipes, and wipes, for the same reason as diapers, are going to be one of the more important things that you make sure is non-toxic, especially because most of the wipes on the market today have cleaning agents in them that are full of chemicals and actually known carcinogens. So that's a nice thought, that those are in a lot of wipes. Believe it or not, sodium lauryl sulfate, which is a terrible chemical and should never be in contact with your skin ever, is in a lot of wipes. And these antibacterial chemicals really do have an effect on the microbiome of a baby. Just a little note on how that all works. Your skin is your body's largest organ, also largest detox organ. So your baby is actually going to flush things out through their skin. That's how we work. If there's toxins in your body and you start to see rashes on your baby's skin, that's actually just a sign that your baby is detoxing from toxins. You don't want to be adding toxins back in by way of wipes, and you definitely don't want to be adding to that toxic burden with the wipes that you have, because your skin also absorbs very easily, and whatever you absorb on your skin goes straight into your bloodstream. In addition to that, your skin also has microbiome, and so believe it or not, your skin ideally is full of microbes, and the more that we use these cleansing agents, these antibacterial soaps and essentially chemicals, we are killing off that layer of bacteria, which is actually going to harm our immune system in the long run. If you know anything about birth, your baby, especially born vaginally, is going to pick up the microbes from the vaginal canal, and that actually seeds their digestive system, which then becomes their immune system, because 70% or more, probably more, of the immune system begins in the gut. And so what's on the skin, that vernix layer, that white, like kind of like creamy layer that you see a lot of babies born with, that literally gets absorbed into the baby's skin and starts to develop their microbiome. So if you're killing off their microbiome with wipes and constant cleaning, you may actually end up seeing some irritation to the skin, because it's that balance of microbes that helps to keep skin as smooth as possible in the way it was intended to be. For this, my favorite option, again, is Coterie. I love Coterie wipes. I think that they are literally one of the best quality wipes you can find on the market. They're thick, they have like very minimal ingredients, not irritating at all for my baby. If you want to go as crunchy as possible, you can actually just buy a pack of organic cotton cloths. They sell like reusable cotton cloths that you can just wash in the washing machine. We did that actually for a time, and to be honest, it's not that hard. Not that hard, and it is probably the least toxic option. You can use water and maybe just a little bit of soap, and you really get to control the ratios for your baby. Number 3 is going to be plastic toys. We want to avoid plastic. It's so common to have baby products, things that actually go into a baby's mouth that they're sucking on all day long, to be plastic. Now, in my research, initially I would have told you that silicone would be the best alternative. Food grade, natural silicone would be a great alternative. And actually that's what I've used with my baby for the last year for teething and just toys. If I'm trying to find the least toxic toys, I'm going to try to find wood, silicone, and like cloth material, like organic cotton cloth material. That's going to be like the purest of the pure. However, in my research, I actually discovered that a lot of silicone can have high levels of heavy metals in them, which is absolutely ridiculous, you guys, but I'm actually not surprised at all, because the mass manufacturing of these silicone baby products is often done in other countries, and there's very minimal testing around these products to make sure that they're actually safe and don't contain any of these like harmful contaminants. But the news is kind of coming out that silicone actually can have high levels of cadmium. I also know that silicone, when it's baked at really high temperatures, actually does release a chemical onto the food, and so we don't even bake with silicone. But I figured, using it in a baby's mouth would be fine. Apparently not, because the high levels of cadmium. So again, I still think silicone might be the better option of others, because it's all spectrum, right? Like, you're not always going to be able to get the exact perfect clean item. And we for sure have plastic around here. I will plastic right there as I'm looking down the floor and all the toys. But if you're trying to find the safest options, I would say try to avoid silicone. Try to actually lean towards these more natural materials. even maybe just nature, like going out in nature, having your baby exposed to rocks and sticks and leaves, those things are actually going to work to seed the microbiome, because anything outside is full of microbes. And so letting your kid just be outside and play with nature, play in the dirt, play in the sand, play with leaves, play with sticks and rocks, like that is going to be so much better than these manufactured plastic baby toys. Number 4 is going to be mattresses. And if you're new to my channel, you may not know, but I did an entire video on mattresses and the dangers of most conventional mattresses, particularly in America, where there's very little testing that goes into these manufacturing processes. But mattresses can actually be very dangerous for a variety of reasons. I'm going to skip over a lot of these. If you're interested in learning more, you can go and check out that video, which I'll link in the description. But mattresses, in order to prevent house fires, have often been sprayed with chemical flame retardants. And so that is getting off-gassed into your air. And that will actually off-gas for several years. I think it ultimately does die down over a longer period of time, but the first several years of owning something that's been sprayed with chemical flame retardants can be some of the worst, because you're just exposing yourself to this constant influx of chemicals. Now, flame retardants are not the only chemicals that are in mattresses. There's actually tons of other ones. And so I would just encourage you to do your research on this. Based on what I have found, there is like a good, better, best. Most mattresses are going to have some kind of polyurethane, polyester filling, which again is not ideal. It's synthetic, and it does also create an off-gassing effect. The absolute best that I would choose, if you're really going to invest the money, is going to be a 100% latex, covered with an organic cotton sheet mattress. So they do exist on the market. I'll link one in the description box below that I found when I was doing some research, but it is expensive. And if you're looking for a kind of second tier, a good version of, that's a little bit less chemical ridden, but not as expensive, we actually ended up going with something that was filled with polyester, but it was GOTS certified. So it was a lot less chemicals and it was flame retardant free. So that's what I looked for. And I will link that one in the description box as well. There's definitely a spectrum with all of this. That's the one we ended up choosing. Now he doesn't really use it because we co-sleep, and that's really just ends up on the side of the bed empty. But once he does start using it, that is something that I feel comfortable with, because it's not as full of chemicals as, some of the others. If you really cannot afford, any of those two options, you're looking for something really cheap, your best bet honestly could be just to buy secondhand, because anything secondhand has off-gassed some amount in other people's homes. It's not good, but you get the idea. And so you would be getting much less of those chemicals. And something else that I will do anytime I get any kind of mattress or cushion type of material is I'll leave it outside in the sun and let the sun just like bake it for a while, because that actually destroys some of the toxins, and it does like speed up the off-gassing. So leaving it in the sun, and then also if you just spray with vinegar and kind of give it a wipe, you could do like a little bit of baking soda. You'd be surprised that some of these natural cleaning methods can actually neutralize some of that toxic load, decrease that ultimately your baby would be just inhaling over the period of the night. I do just want to note here, and this is not to bring fear and not to bring the chaos, but there are people who believe that toxic mattresses can be a cause of SIDS in babies, especially because there's often just an unexplained reasoning for this. Now, research has kind of dissuaded this. When I looked it up, there's not a ton of research to back this, but I wouldn't be surprised that any kind of product that you're in constant contact with overnight that is loaded up with chemicals wouldn't push a baby's toxic burden over the edge. So just bear in mind that these things do matter. Like, they make a difference, and you could replace every single thing in your house that's toxic, but if you're going to get the most bang for your buck, I would consider what are their bodies spending the most amount of time in contact with, and mattresses are a huge one because there's a lot of sleep going on. And number 5 is going to be clothing. And clothing is such a funny one because I feel like the organic cotton movement has just kind of like taken off. But I just want you to know that there is way more to look out for in clothing than just whether or not the cotton that's used in it is organic. Like whether there's pesticides used in the process. That is like one part of the process. And if it was then drenched in bleach and then dyed with some kind of chemical dye, it doesn't really matter that it was pesticide free when it was grown, because what's touching your skin is now all of that layers of chemical manufacturing. So you do actually have to dig a little bit deeper, and I will link a couple brands in the description box below that I think have gone above and beyond to make sure that they manage the toxicity level of their clothing. Part of the reason I look for organic cotton, or I might search for organic cotton on Google, is purely because companies that are conscious enough to say organic cotton oftentimes are conscious enough to pay attention to the dyes and the chemicals, particularly for baby items, not for a lot of other things, but for baby items, they tend to be a little bit more conscious of those things. That's not to say that they are. Like, there's a very big difference between getting like a small name brand, you know, they pay attention to every aspect of their manufacturing, made in America, versus like H&M organic cotton line. They're different. There's, again, a spectrum here. I personally have used bamboo in some things, but bamboo is actually one of the materials that, although it seems natural, has been known to actually release a certain type of toxin into the body, which is not ideal. So I would really stick to a GOTS certified organic cotton, and anything that's GOTS certified actually goes through a stringent process to make sure that their process in making it has less chemicals. So you can check out like GOTS certified organic cotton items, and you can find a lot of those on Amazon. But again, I'll link some in the description box below. I just want to make a note here also that there have been found PFAs, flame retardants, and all types of crazy amounts of heavy metals in clothing, which is ridiculous, you guys. I have really no idea why this happens, but just pay attention to like the caricature, like PJ sets. A lot of the like plasticky looking pajamas have been sprayed with chemical flame retardants. Anything really like overnight, you kind of have to do a little double check, because companies kind of assume that the consumer would prefer the product to be less prone to catching on fire, but that comes with the sacrifice, and it's, in my opinion, it's just not worth it. So pay attention to those character, like, you know, Disney pajamas. They kind of just look like they're made out of plastic, or they have this like clear, like shiny coating to them. Or if you like touch a fabric and your hands almost feel like it gets like a coating over it, just pay attention to those, because there's a reason that your hands feel that way afterwards. Part of my passion here is to make non-toxic living manageable. And so I'm hoping that all of the links in the description and a little bit of this teasing out of the 5 most non-toxic baby items will help you in your search for more healthy alternatives without some of the stress, because obviously there's toxins in so many different things, and I'm not sitting here telling you that I do not allow like plastic into my house, but this is the direction I'm trying to kind of like move, if that makes sense. So don't stress out about every little object. Think through like what's going in their mouth, what's touching their skin. Those are going to be the most important things to keep an eye on. And if you are newly postpartum and you're looking for a more ancestral, nourishing food meal plan, or if you're feeling overwhelmed by making food postpartum, I did create a whole postpartum meal guide that I like lived by in the first several months. So if you're interested in that, check out the link in the description. These are really some of the most nourishing meals, but also easy to make meals that I know of, and are great if you just had a baby. Let me know in the comments how you find the best non-toxic baby items, what you've learned over the years, or if anything I just said is new information that you did not know of. Let me know. Let me know. And if you got any value out of this video, please like and subscribe to my channel. It is my passion to walk alongside people as they heal and grow. It inspires me and hopefully brings encouragement to you. Thanks for watching.